Hello, I am Michael Williams, and I call this QC meeting to order. I'll bring my mic a little closer. So I will turn it over to CBA staff for roll call.
Michael Williams.
Here.
Jeffrey Moline.
Here.
Jeffrey Baginski.
Here.
Hanjiao Meng.
Here.
Sarah Herrera.
Here.
Christopher Smith.
Present.
Anthony Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The CBA has provided the opportunity for the public to participate via the WebEx platform. When we take public comments, we will begin by taking public comment from those individuals attending the meeting of the CBA headquarters at the CBA headquarters. I will then ask the moderator to open up the lines for public comment. You will be allotted up to 5 minutes for public comment. Oh, okay, and I am going to read the mission statement. The CBA's mission is to protect the consumers by ensuring only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. This mission is derived from the statutory requirement that protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. So we're going to go to agenda item number 1, public comments for item not on the agenda. Currently, we have no public individuals here at the headquarters, so I will open it up to public comment. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We will give you a moment. All right, this is moderator. I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. So agenda item number 2, report of the committee chair, myself, and we are looking at the approval of the January 24th, 2024 Qualifications Committee meeting minutes. Does any member wish to make a motion?
Hey, Michael, it's Chris Smith. I'll make the motion. Could I ask a question before the motion?
Yes.
Just an observation. I don't know if this is a stylistic item, but when I read the minutes, the very first item was related to a public comment that was made and received at our last meeting, which is recorded and it reflects what I remember. But I was just wondering, there's no action item put in that item, and I seem to recall that we directed the person to do something, and I don't know if the minutes should reflect the fact that there was an action. The way it reads right now is they made an observation and it's just sitting there.
I'll let Michelle address that.
So there was no action that was taken by the committee, which normally we would document in the minutes. My memory is that Michael suggested or indicated that staff would be in contact with this individual, which was not really an action.
Okay. That was it. So I would otherwise make a motion to accept these minutes if that's the right motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Who made that comment
I'm sorry, this
or
is
that
Handelmi.
second motion? Do we get it?
This is Handelmi. I'm
Okay.
gonna second the motion.
Thank you. I will now open it up to public comment. Seeing no one in the audience, I'll open it up virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 2, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. We'll call for a vote.
Anthony Gonzalez,
Approve? Yes.
Jeffrey Baginski,
Approve.
Christopher Smith,
Approve.
Hanja Meng,
Approve.
Sarah Herrera,
Approve.
Jeffrey Moline,
Approve.
and Michael Williams.
Approved.
The motion passes.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 3, report of the California Board of Accountancy from the liaison, Patricia Batchelor.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Williams and members of the Qualifications Committee. I am CBA member Batchelor, and I'll be providing a report on the January 2024 meeting and our recent March 2024 meeting. So now starting with the January 25th, 2024. President Rosenbaum reported CBA leadership held a roundtable to discuss the CBA's priorities for 2024. Some of these priorities included the following: the CBA's sunset review, monitoring the CPA pipeline, continuing focus on communications and outreach and expanding the CBA's reach and messages, updating the strategic plan, and continuing the business modernization. Next item, we directed staff to work with President Rosenbaum on providing a response to NASBA's regarding the professional licensure task force concept regarding a structured experimental learning program that would provide means for candidates with 120 units to gain additional experience in lieu of the 150 semester units presently to meet licensure requirements. Next, the CBA approved proposed changes to the CBA disciplinary guidelines and model orders, which included modifying the definition of toiling and to make tolling an optimal term of probation and approved language to add license surrender as a standard term of probation. Next, staff reported the Department of Finance issued a letter requiring all state agencies to take immediate action to reduce current year expenditures, including any discretionary or non-mandatory mandated travel, I should say. Next, I'd like to ask if there's any questions about the January 2024 CBA meeting. Okay, no questions?
Do I open up public comment? Thank you.
Okay, well, now moving on to what happened during the March 21st, 2024 meeting. The CBA adopted its meeting dates for the 2025 calendar year. Staff reported the CBA's sunset review hearing. It took place on March 11th, 2024. CBA member Katrina Salazar and Executive Officer Dominique Franzella appeared before the Joint Sunset Review Committee and answered questions related to the CBA's mobility provisions, CPA pipeline, and our advisory committee vacancies and the investigated CPA vacancies. Next, as part of the sunset review process, the legislature provided a background paper for the hearing that contained an overview and history of the CBA, and I've identified 13 issues for the CBA to respond to. The CBA reviewed and approved proposed responses to questions from the legislature in a background paper. The Sunset Review Report and the responses to the background paper are both posted on the CBA's website. Next, we discussed activities related to the CPA pipeline, requirements for licensure, CPA mobility, and changes to the uniform accountancy. The CBA directed staff to continue to monitor the CPA pipeline issues. Staff will provide an update of the pipeline-related activities at the May CBA meeting and hope to have representatives from NASBA, AICPA, and CalCPA and academia at the meeting to provide input. Next, CBA reviewed and approved a response to the one comment received for the proposed regulatory language to eliminate the pre-licensure professional ethics examination and replace it with a post-licensure requirement to complete a regulatory review course for their first CPA license renewal. The CBA adopted and proposed regulations and directed staff to complete the rulemaking file and submit to the Office of Administrative Law. CBA directed staff to work with President Rosenbaum to appoint 2 CBA members to work with staff to explore regulatory changes to California Code of Regulations, Article 2.5, which addresses license status, and Article 12, which addresses continuing education. The regulatory changes being considered are as follows: allow for emerging learning approaches and technologies, increase clarity and reduce repetition, update subject areas, and approve regulatory review courses. Let's see here. We will look at, we also took support positions on Assembly Bill 3251, which is the CBA's sunset legislation. The bill may include the CBA's proposed legislative proposals that were included in its sunset review report. The legislature will determine what proposals are ultimately included. Are there any questions regarding the March 2024 CBA meeting? Okay, if there's
Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Batchelor, for your
okay.
presentation.
And one last point, the CBA will hold its next meeting in person at the CBA office and via WebEx on May 16th and May 17th, 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Batchelor.
Sure, thank you.
We will go on to the report on activities for the licensing division and Jennifer Huddy. For that first? Okay, I apologize. Looking for any public comment for Ms. Batchelor's presentation, so I open it up. Seeing none here in headquarters, I open it up virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 3, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. Now we can talk the licensing activity report from Jennifer Huddy.
Thank you, Chair Williams. My name is Jennifer Huddy. I'm the manager of the initial licensing unit. This licensing activity report, or LAR, covers July 1st, 2023 through January 31st, 2024. The LAR begins with the reporting of processing times. I'm pleased to report that the processing times remain below 30 days. Now, if you turn your attention to page 2 of the LAR, the NASBA CPA exam performance summary for the 4th testing quarter of 2023 is attached. When comparing the 4th quarter of 2023 to the 4th quarter of 2022, in 2023, there were significantly more new CPA exam candidates who passed their 4th section and total sections taken in 2022, or total sections taken then in 2022. However, there was a decline in the section passing rate for both first-time and repeat test takers. Moving on to page 3, there were nearly 75,000 stakeholder inquiries in the form of emails and telephone calls. This is inclusive of CBA calls directed to the DCA call center. On to pages 4 and 5. As of January 31st, the examination unit has approved 3,637 first-time applicants to sit for the CPA exam. The initial licensing unit has approved 1,925 applications for CPAs and firms. On pages 6 through 8, data related to renewal statistics, renewal deficiencies, and continuing education audits are displayed. Table 7 includes CE audit data. 526 licensees were selected so far for an audit in fiscal year 23-24. Of those, 357 have been found to be compliant. 115 are still in process. That concludes my presentation. I will now turn it back over to Chair Williams, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jennifer from the members? Hearing none, I had a couple, and the first one was a significant increase from 2022 to 2023. Do you know what that's attributed to?
We have here today with us a representative from the exams unit who can explain that a little bit easier than I can. So Patty, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Patricia Ritter, and I'm an examination unit coordinator. There was an increase, most likely due to the CPA evolution. A lot of candidates were testing before the blackout dates at the end of December.
That's quite a increase. And then I had another question regarding the, I don't know which one it was now. It was a second, it wasn't about the inquiries. Well, maybe it was about the inquiries, and that was significantly reduced by about 25%. What's that attributed to? Better awareness?
Are the inquiries over 22 to 23?
Yeah.
It's likely due to the increase in candidates.
Okay. Well. Oh, July. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. So the reduction that you're seeing here is showing that we're looking at July through January, not the entire fiscal year.
Got it. I misread
Apologies.
that. Thank you.
Hey, Michael.
No further. Yes.
It's Chris Smith. I just have two questions. One is very specific and one is general. On the table 6, which I think it's page 7, if I'm looking at it correctly, just curious that the enforcement and referrals year to date, I'm only seeing one where we had 88 and almost 200. Is that a timing issue, or is there something going on in what gets referred or what we're finding?
Yes.
This is Michelle Center. I think what you are seeing is a difference in the technology that we've been using. So CBA Connect, because of its automation, does not allow certain things to come through and arrive at the CBA for consideration once we know that they don't meet requirements. And so that in and of itself reduces how many we need to refer to enforcement.
Okay, good. I think that's good. And then secondly, I'd just be curious if the staff, in pulling the stuff together, are there trends or anything that you think you're concerned about or this committee should be aware of so we can think about things we ought to be doing?
Chris, are you referring to the renewal application?
Yeah, and any of it. There's a lot of information here, and I'm just curious if there are trends that the staff is seeing that it's something that we should be thinking about in terms of our responsibilities.
Yep, I think Michelle can address that, please.
Sure. The LAR that you see before you is a report that we provide to the board as well as our committees. But what we also do is a trend report, and we do that in the fall. We try and do it around the same time as the AICPA does their trend report. So sometimes we report out on that in September, but sometimes we report out in November. So our timing is around the same time as AICPA. If we look at that trend report, we're able to provide you information that goes back, I think, around 10 years so that you can really look at trends. But then also when we do that in conjunction with AICPA, we can look at it in terms of what the nation is seeing, as well as survey responses that they get from looking at firms and what firms plan to do in terms of their hiring and retention, as well as what may be occurring at our colleges in terms of students attending, seeking a degree in accounting, as well as any trends on whether or not that has changed. So we do look at trends, but we do that at a specific portion of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Michelle. Are there other questions? Oh,
yeah, Sarah Herrera here. Quick question, and I'm guessing maybe it's the time frame. The deficient outstanding on table 6 is 297. Obviously, they move to, when they're completed, they'll move out of that category. But it's a lot higher. Is it because they just haven't been resolved yet? Or maybe
Michelle,
the software's catching those more? I'm not sure.
I'll let Michelle address that.
Sure. Yes, what you were seeing there is really just a timing issue as we work with these individuals to hopefully rectify anything that is outstanding so that they can move into the resolved deficiency category, we hope.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I had one other question. This is Jeff Moline. On table 4, in regards to the number of licenses issued in 2022 and 2023, there's 2,075 with the general accounting experience and 793 with the attest experience. I'm curious if staff or the CBA have an assessment on whether that's enough or too little, or like what would the appropriate number of new licensees be? Does that make sense? Am I saying that clearly?
Yes. Now I will let Michelle address that as well.
I love all of the questions we're getting and engagement we're getting at the meeting. So I think that's a very good question. Unfortunately, it's a really hard question to answer. We do get an indicator based on that AICPA survey that goes out, but it's not specific to any one state. So they ask in general the firms a survey question about, do you intend to retain the number of CPAs that you have now? And then they also ask them to project whether or not they plan to hire fewer, the same, or more in the future. And so we do have that trend information. I think I was reminded that we provided that information to you potentially in January. If you wanted to go back and look at the QC materials from January, you would find that it's a great question. We are a little limited in the answer I can provide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other questions? We will move to B, report on I need to ask for public comment. Seeing no public at headquarters, moderator, can you open it up virtually for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 4A, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. All right, this is my third try, but now we will go to 4B, the report on the Qualifications Committee subcommittee meetings. And Melissa?
Thank you, Chair Williams. My name is Melissa Cardenas, and I'm coordinator in the Initial Licensing Unit. The purpose of this agenda item is to provide an update to the QC on subcommittee activities that have taken place since the January 2024 Qualifications Committee meeting. Since the January 2024 public meeting, the QC has held 2 virtual subcommittee meetings to review work papers of a test experience. 5 reviews were conducted pursuant to California Code of Regulations, Section 69, specifically for the following 2 reasons. There was a satisfactorily answered certification of experience submitted to the CBA, but the period of experience appears to be unduly short, and reasonable belief that the information in the experience certificate may be false or incorrect. Of these, 3 applicants were recommended for approval of an initial license with a test authority. 1 licensee with general authority was recommended for approval with the test authority, and 1 licensee with general authority was recommended for deferral of the application for a test authority. This concludes my report. At this time, I'll turn it back to Chair Williams and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Are there any questions from the members? Seeing none, I will open it up for public comment. No individuals in the public are here at headquarters, so moderator, please open it up virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. So we will now go to 4C on the agenda, an actionable item, review and approval of proposed changes to the California Board of Accountancy Qualifications Committee Procedures Manual, and Michelle Center will present this.
Thank you, Chair Williams. The purpose of the agenda item before you is to provide the QC an opportunity to consider updates to the Qualifications Committee Procedures Manual. The QC Procedures Manual has not undergone edits and updates since 2019. In addition to non-substantive edits for grammar and formatting, staff identified the need for revisions to update appendices and provide clarity on the difference between Section 69 appearances and personal appearances. Of the 39 appearances that have taken place since April 2022, 27 were Section 69 reviews and 12 have been personal appearances. I'm now going to walk through the manual so that I can give some heads up, I guess, on some of the changes that were made in the various sections. It's probably most beneficial to do this in a way where if you have comments or suggestions in a specific area that I'm on, that you raise your hand so that we can go ahead and get your questions answered at that time. If you have non-substantive types of edits, we are happy to take those afterwards. We don't need to wordsmith the document that is before us today and make those kinds of edits. So if we turn our attention, and do not make the mistake that I make every single time, which is looking at attachment 1, which is the old manual. And if we turn our attention to attachment 2, that is our new proposed manual. So if we look at that, I'm going to start and give you some information on section 1, and then I will pause and see if there's any questions or comments on section 1. So in terms of section 1, the only thing that I would call your attention to in terms of edits would be under the purpose. Well, the purpose for the Q has not changed. We have just called out in number 1, personal appearances where applicants are coming before the QC because of foreign attest experience. Again, this is not new, but we thought it would be best to call that particular appearance out in the purpose section. So in terms of section 1, does anyone have any questions or comments or feedback on that section before I move on to section 2?
Hey, Michelle, it's Chris. I feel as though no section's complete if I don't ask a question. Could you just, before we go further, I guess I'm still the newbie, so I feel I can ask such questions, but I'd like to just hear just a little bit more about the process. And my questions that I was just looking to hear is that this is done by the staff. Does the staff do a technical review, so citations to sections and stuff like that? Someone's looking to make sure that that's the right citation. You go through it. Was Michael involved as part of this? And now we're just looking at it. And then after we approve it, is it then flipped over to the board for their final approval after we say it's okay? And then lastly, where does this thing sit? Is it a public document that the public has access to at any point in time? Those would be my questions.
Michelle?
So those are great questions. And so hopefully I remember all of them. And I don't know if you're still new. I'll just start with that little piece of comment. But those are great questions about kind of the logistics of this. First, it is a public document. And so take that. It will reside on our website for any member of the public to see and available upon request of any member of the public.
Okay.
In terms of the technical aspects, yes, staff are responsible for going through and making sure that the citations are correct. Of course, if we miss something, we're happy to take your feedback, but those types of things we should have found and corrected. There were several citations that were modified from the old version to this new version, so you may have noticed that, and that was because of staff going through and taking another look at the specific sections that were cited in the manual.
Okay.
In terms of whether or not this manual has been reviewed by the chair and the vice chair, I would say that I would not consider this manual to have been reviewed and in a sense blessed or approved by those two particular members of the committee. But yes, they were provided with some initial information prior to this meeting to help prepare them to review and assist and facilitate with this discussion. I think that was all the questions. Did I miss anything?
I think
I probably even forgot.
CBA review.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. The one I missed was board approval, I guess. So this manual does not go to the board for approval. There is a second manual that is for all of our committees. That particular manual does have a section that outlines the QC. That particular manual does go to the board for approval, but not this QC specific one.
Okay, so the buck stops here. And I was just curious, do you have like is this on a tickle file to look at no less frequently than every 5 years? Is that?
We do not have a date whereby we, say, let's look at this in 5 years. It really pertains to, do we have changes in law or regulations whereby we think we need to open it, or, sections where we receive maybe feedback from members that they need additional clarity. In this case, I would say one of the things that prompted this was us wanting to really distinguish the difference between Section 69 review and personal appearances, and really clarifying that Section 69, as outlined in the California Code of Regulations, is an opportunity for the supervisor who is a licensee to explain the decision or recommendation they put on that experience form. And so we did not feel that the current manual really highlighted the difference between Section 69 and personal appearances. And we did not believe that we provided members with sample questions or a framework that would really help you focus your questions on the licensee who signed the experience form as well as we could. So you will see that most of the edits in here really reflect that change.
Thank you, Michelle. And I'll add that I did review it, and I think that she's exactly right. It's much more robust on the Rule 69 type reviews with a lot of good guidance for us when we have our meetings. Any other comments or questions from the members?
None of this time.
Okay, I will go to the public.
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Oh, we're still going.
We're still going, but I kind of feel like I want to really group these because I'm going to get questions after each section. But we'll take section 2 next, which is the personal appearances. You'll see some changes in here. One, really trying to align things with documents that we have. For example, we specifically now have included an appendix and a reference to the Qualifications Committee selection criteria cover sheet. That cover sheet is a tool that my staff use to make determinations on a case-by-case basis about which files will be sent for QC review. That gives you important information about why we thought it needed to come before the QC. For example, if there is unduly short hours, but an affirmative recommendation, that would be something that you would see noted on that cover sheet. So you will see we've now included that cover sheet as an appendix. We also wanted to make sure that the bullets in C align with what is on that cover sheet. All of those, the cover sheet, those bullets now all completely align with what you would see in Section 69 of the California Code of Regulations. So those are the changes in Section 2. I think I can move on to 3 and kind of group those two together because the changes are pretty similar. So Section 3 is where we now have separated out personal appearances and we've separated out Section 69 reviews. There are some changes that are in here that directly impact the interviews that you conduct, the appearances that you conduct. One, because the decision on whether or not an individual receives a license or is deferred is a decision by the board, we are now asking that the QC not provide their recommendation during the appearance. We do not want to give any information to them that may later not be the case. And so we have also updated in the appendix some talking points for you for your opening and closing so that it is clear that that is not what is going to happen during the appearance. But what is also in here is information that really asks the QC to provide us with additional detailed information about what they learned during that personal appearance. So for example, if during that personal appearance you recognize that the system that a firm was using to calculate their hours really wasn't sufficient in breaking the hours up by the sections that we ask for on the experience form, that might be something that you want to make sure to document now within that form so that we can provide the firms with really actionable information when the board reaches out to them and provides them with a result. So you will see some changes in the forms where you document what occurred at the particular appearance, but also wanted to make sure to really give you information on our expectations. The other thing that you will see documented, particularly within section B, subsection B, is really aligning that with what is already in California Code of Regulations, which is that Section 69 reviews are an opportunity for the supervisor to explain whatever decisions they made and how they got there. So that does not mean that a supervisor may ask the applicant who is there with them, usually during the Section 69 review, to elaborate or provide additional details or that type of thing. We are not saying that that cannot be done, but we are wanting to make sure that we really refocus back onto the licensee and their responsibility to complete an accurate experience form that meets our standards. So that is really within these two particular sections, sections 2 and 3, you will see the majority of the changes. So I do want to pause there and get some feedback and questions on those two sections before moving on.
So I will start with a question. I was just thinking of this. So if you have, it's a Rule 69, and you have the individual come in with the signer, and you talk to the signer and you determine, well, the work was done, but they just didn't complete the Form E. What do we do there? Do we say that the candidate should obtain licensure, but that the firm needs to improve, and then do we have to, does that firm come on reappearance, or what happens in that situation?
So I believe the question, just to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, is the instance when a supervisor refuses to complete an experience form. Was that the question?
No, when the Form E was completed but with low hours, right? And then it turns out, well, our billing system doesn't, but they did, and yeah, we can change it, and I'll resubmit a form, et cetera. What's the action there?
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So you would document what occurred at the meeting, and for example, if it's the billing system that's causing the problem, you would put that in there. Staff are present and observing the meeting, and then we will also have your written summary of what occurred, and we will make a determination of whether or not we want to ask them to resubmit a form. We want to do that in writing if we want to ask them to submit a corrected form. We will also make a determination of whether or not we think this would warrant them to need to come back. We base that off of your recommendations. So you will see when we get to the appendix on the form, you are asked those types of questions. We just want to make sure that we are the ones providing the direction to the firm as well as to the applicant.
Thank you, because I think that's what I've seen a lot of times, so that's pretty common. But members, questions, comments?
I must have done something because I can't believe there's no questions on that. Okay, so the other sections within the form, I don't think I need to highlight. File review, you guys saw that revised document that we use for file review. So I think really we can skip to the appendices. Again, like I said, we've added the selection criteria cover sheet. We've updated the experience forms. When we went down from 4 experience forms to only 2. That's now updated in here. We've also updated the opening and closing statements to be consistent with the sections that I just spoke about, as well as the best practices. There was, I do want to point out there was a particular change to Appendix 14 that did not get in your version. So staff are recommending on Appendix 14 that we add a question number 4. Question number 4 would say recommendation regarding applicant. Does the applicant meet the experience requirement? Yes, no. So you will be providing your recommendation both on the firm as well as the applicant, and we will consider all that information when making the licensure decision. So that is all I have to present. If we want to turn it back to you.
I just had a, Jeff had a comment, Melina, that you were going to update. And so just so you know, Jeff, maybe you can explain that.
Like I said, when I started, we did receive some initial feedback that were really not substantive types of edits, things like changing proposed to suggested, those types of things. One of the larger, though not major suggestion was related to Appendix 15, which is the best practices document. Within that document, there is an opening paragraph. We're going to add some information to that opening paragraph to provide some direction on what I just spoke about in terms of Section 69 reviews and that California Code of Regulations section really being about an opportunity for the licensee, in this case supervisor, to come before you and explain how they came about making whatever decision they did on the experience form. And so that was recommended by Jeff in his review. And so we'll go ahead and we'll make that change. I don't believe any of the other changes that have been suggested to me really rise to the level of needing to point them out. I would suggest that any motion that is considered by the committee for approval allow the chair to approve any edits that we may seem necessary as we go through and we correct some of these really minor things that we are finding.
Thank you, Michelle. Additional questions, comments from the members? Hearing none, there are no public at headquarters. So moderator, we'll open it up virtually for comment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 4C, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, staff, for working on that. So we will, I guess, does any member wish to make a motion? And do I have to add that in this motion, what you had talked about regarding the chair, the QC chair, reviewing or approving minor modifications?
I would suggest that you might want to entertain a motion that says that the QC adopts the April 2024 version of the Qualifications Committee Procedures Manual and delegates authority to the chair to approve any technical edits that are necessary.
Thank you. I accept that. So does any member wish to make a motion?
Hey, Mike, I'll put forward the motion as stated by Michelle.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chair, Sarah Herrera. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. That's a second. I will take public comment. Seeing none at headquarters, we will take public comment virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. So now we'll have the call for the vote. Ms. Huddy?
Jeffrey Moline,
Approve.
Jeffrey Baginski, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Was that it? You may be muted, Mr. Baginski.
All right, sorry, my mouse was not letting me click there. Approve.
Michael Williams,
Approved.
Han Zhao Meng,
Approved.
Sarah Herrera,
Approved.
Anthony Gonzalez,
Approve.
Christopher Smith.
Approve.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Jennifer. We will go to section 5, closing business. And the agenda items for future qualifications committee meetings. Does that open that to members first? Any motions from the members for agenda items? No, not motion. Any recommendations, suggestions for future items for the QC?
I had a question. Sarah Herrera here, Mr. Chair. I know we approved the minutes. I just was trying to see in the minutes where my appointment was. Was that on like a different meeting? I thought it was in March. Maybe I missed that.
I think you would be referring to the CBA minutes because they approved
that's
your...
okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay, so that doesn't come to this board. Thank you. That clarifies.
Yeah, so you're official. You're really official.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Like, should I be voting?
Anything else from the members? Hearing none, I'll open up to the public at headquarters. There are no individuals here from the public, so moderator, please open it up virtually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If any member of the public would like to comment on future agenda items, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We will give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment at this time. Mr. Chair, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator. And before I adjourn, I wanted to introduce Sarah as our newest member. We met with her this morning before the meeting. So thank you for joining, and I hope you found this meeting interesting and exciting enough where you'll,
Thank
continue.
you, Mr. Chair. I definitely found it very exciting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And as always, I want to thank staff. Done an amazing job for assisting in this. And thank you, Patricia, for presenting. And with that, we are adjourned.